Party nerds, 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 party nerds.
What's going on, Party Nerds? I'd like to welcome y'all to another installment of Partynerdz Presents Grandmaster FAQs. Today, what we've recently seen in the news with Disney now acquiring Fox Studios and their ultimate regard for their three major franchises accompanying the Marvel Universe, namely Fantastic Four, the Silver Surfer franchise, which has been getting no news whatsoever, but thoroughly we will be talking about the introduction of probably the greatest team force, even more so than the Avengers, the X-Men. As we've known throughout the years that, the X-Men have, of course, been a high commodity. It was the first team ensemble to be brought forth on film with around 2000 when the first X-Men movie came out. Now, X-Men has, of course, been a top-selling comic for years, have broken off into many affiliates with X-Force and Excalibur, with the New Mutants. And this, of course, is something perfect that the MCU needs, because they were looking for somewhat of a various way to spread and keep the movies coming at all costs. So what was needed was something of a bridge, per se, that could possibly keep the MCU franchise with Disney and going for the next probably 20 or 30 so years. And X-Men is a catalyst that can do that. We all know the players that we've seen currently on screen. For those of you that have only seen the film movies and have seen the comic books, everybody knows who Wolverine is. Everybody knows who Jean Grey is, Professor X, Storm, Colossus, Beast, Cyclops, Rogue, Gambit. For those of us that are like a little bit older, that have maybe been accompanied to the X-Men cartoon series that we watched as kids in the early 90s, which was amazing, by the way, we are going to see a shift forward. Now, for the entire, length of time that the MCU has been in focus, you have not heard, or even a whisper, not even written on a wall, the word mutant by any means, shape, or form. What we've been accustomed to is a lot of human beings with special enhanced abilities, generally by a lot of the origin stories, that you've seen coming along. Iron Man, of course, building a tech fantasy Phasma that is accompanied like a battery inside of his chest. Steve Rogers, Captain America, having enhanced powers that were brought to him by none other than Tony Stark's father, being accompanied in a lab and creating himself into a super soldier. The Incredible Hulk, being a scientist who was infused with gamma rays with an accident. These are the current origin stories and the type of enhancements that we've seen on film. And take note, MCU has made a ton of great origin stories, but with the introduction of mutants, you're going to see a brand new, a general taste for the origin of a mutant entering the earth. Largely and duly noted is the fact that the X-Men have played a part in a lot of the major ongoing events that have happened in the MCU recently. Now, with Infinity Gauntlet coming up, you know, not only have the X-Men have been, of course, saviors of the planet Earth, and have been also tremendously responsible for the fact and hoarding of mutants and enhancing their powers by the good man Professor X himself, but we have yet to see these stories unfold. We know that, you know, Wolverine is sort of a catalyst and a great component for the Infinity Gauntlet comics, the comic book series. That Storm, of course, becomes enthralled in a lot of the Black Panther saga. Not even the fact of being his wife. The Avengers X-Men comic book series that came out not even a few years ago, in 2013, 2014, was probably the last great Marvel series that came out during that time. Depicted Cyclops as an asshole. Professor X probably got killed for like the 14th time. And ultimately led us to believe that the mutants had a one-up on the enhanced human beings that were placed on this earth as super soldiers, which is what the Avengers are. What we are going to see going forth, there's a lot of ways that this could go, and take heed. There's a lot of villains that also are accompanying the X-Men universe coming over from Fox that we probably have yet to see. You know, like Wolverine's character has his own type of enemies. You know, we haven't seen Omega Red. We've seen Silver Samurai, but it was like a robot drone form of Silver Samurai. We've seen Sabretooth in two types of forms, but it wasn't really what we were accustomed to seeing. We don't see his origin story from where it was in Fox to where he was embattled and placed in the Weapon X program, but we don't see him coming and being introduced from his other team because he was formed and based in Canada from Alpha Flight. And we could see the pickups and the Easter eggs happening from here on in. We could see Cyclops being, of course, becoming more of an asshole because he is the leader of the X-Men. Everybody always thinks it's Wolverine, but it's always been Cyclops because he's been the most strategic in all of their planning. He knows exactly what's happening at all times. He is the ultimate soldier for Professor X. He's the only one that keeps everybody in line. You know, for the most part with the PG-13 X-Men, we have seen just a small display of what these people can actually do. You know, the ongoing saga and the feud between Professor X and Magneto can only form into a higher form. You know, their constant battles between their personality changes and how they see mutants going forth, I can only see as being more of a subject of choice for the ongoing series. There may be an introduction to Onslaught, which of course, in layman's terms, Magneto in battle rips adamantium from Wolverine in a fight. Professor X, who never really loses his cool, blacks the hell out, and the ultimate dark matter from Professor X leads into Magneto, which then creates a psionic figure, which is Onslaught, and he becomes introduced. These are just more so of the parallels that we can go. But, you know, as we've known, Fox has been good at killing the X-Men characters, but they haven't been great at the origin stories. If we remember X-Men 3 The Last Stand, we know that Professor X was killed at the end of that one, although he was foreshadowed in X-Men Days of Futures Past to have come back and he was reformed at the origin story for the first Wolverine movie. At the end, he was saving all the mutants. Everything was based in the timeline. There's always ways for a lot of the comic book characters to come back. When anyone dies in a comic book, don't think that they're just dead for sure. Shit, Superman came back to life. Why can't Professor X? Time and time and time and time again. It's going to be great for the MCU to just feed off of this and provide great storylines, because there's so many ways that they can go. So many ways. They're an expanded universe. They have a multitude of characters. I mean, even right now with the Deadpool franchise, they're trying to form that into the X-Force franchise, which is a later form of the X-Force, which is basically Cable, who is the ultimate leader of the pack. You're going to have Colossus, which is a member of the X-Men, but later on became a member of X-Force. They brought along Negasonic and Teenage Warhead to provide, of course, a millennial type of character that can be a sort of adaptive to the newer age comic book fans that are going to come and see these films. You know, like the point where in the film where Deadpool tends to realize that this little girl is just a teenager mashing out on Twitter before she actually bulldozes her enemies. It's only made for the current audience. But for those of us that have grown to see the fandom that is the X-Men, like when the first movie came out, I could tell you that it was probably more hyped than I've seen recently for these movies. Now, for the Avengers movies. The Avengers movies going forth, I saw as, okay, we built up to the Avengers. They came right out with the X-Men. How they were introduced. And you can do that with them because they are ultimate parallel. It's not like when they just threw the Justice League together after 2 films, when the individual components of Justice League haven't really built their characters yet. The X-Men have always been team first, individual second. It's always been that way. They didn't break off into individual characters until later. What we may be accustomed to seeing is a lot more of the storylines. Secret Empire, Secret Wars, a lot of the X-Men franchises. You might see a maybe even a similar reboot to Days of Futures Past. You may see a creation of the X-Force that we will see coming up very soon. That was going to be produced by Fox, but I'm sure that's going to sway its way into Disney. The introduction of a lot more characters that we're more than seldom to seeing. A lot of them are more so cult figures than popularity. Like, say, a Nightcrawler, who was British-based. He was the ultimate leader of Excalibur at the time. X-Force had its own wing, even though it was formed by Cable. You had Speedball, you had Domino at the time, who was going to be currently in the next Deadpool 2 movie. These are characters that are just going to be popping up, that the avid comic book readers are going to be like, oh shit, I can't believe they just put Havoc or Cannonball on film. Or putting the what most interesting is how they're going to reboot Quicksilver. Are they going to keep the same character that they had in the Fox franchise because he got shot up in the MCU? There's so many ways they can do it. It's just wrap your head around the continuity of what actually can happen business. Now, we all know Disney. They're gonna capitalize on profits here. They're gonna sell out figurines. They're gonna possibly do TV shows to kind of highlight some of the lesser known characters. So be it. They're already doing it now. Legion, which is excellent by any means necessary. Having him being the ultimate son of Professor X, even though it hasn't been revealed in the show, it only in a twinge. The Gifted that has just come out recently on Fox, You know, there's so many ways that we can go. And I feel like it's a great addition to that cast. You know, we're probably going to lose half of the characters that we're more accustomed to seeing in Infinity War and Avengers 4. So, what should be the next group or team that should come in and just continue the manifold on and on and on? Only to now. Let's just say this: we're probably going to lose some Avengers, but like I said before, in comic books, nobody's ever dead. You can reintroduce characters time and time again. They're going to keep it going. The X-Men is only going to continue the storylines and keep it just an ultimate franchise. And I don't see any ways about it that it's going to disappear anytime soon. But that's all the time I have. I appreciate everybody tuning in, and look forward to us on Partynerdz at partynerdz.com, Partynerdz on Instagram, and watch out for us on our podcast, 6:45 p.m. every Tuesday, Wildfire Radio. Want to wish everybody a Happy New Year. If you had your Merry Christmas over the holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa, Merry Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, so be it. This is Grandmaster FAQs signing off. Partynerdz, go.
Partynerdz, 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 Partynerdz.